Hi everybody, this is Diane. I would like to say thank you to all of you who showed interest in the domestic arts journals that I'm going to be working on. So I'm going to try to do a excuse me, a step-by-step sort of process with a few videos in the series. So the first video, basically I showed a table full of different piles of types of things that I will use in the journals. So it was kind of an introductory video. In this video, I'm going to talk about constructing the pages because the journals are big and you can't just fold a piece of paper and have it work. So I have different ways of constructing the pages, and I think it will be interesting to go through and see the different things that we can do to make pages big enough. And I do need to say that I didn't invent this type of journal. I'm inspired by Gina Johnson from the Rebookery. Her YouTube channel is called the Rebookery, and she does a lot of journals where she has to construct pages. So I have a lot of ideas from her, but we're going to just look at various types of pages and what we can do to put them together. And the fun thing about actually constructing pages is that we get to create some hidden tuck spots and pockets by putting pages together. So I'll get into that in this video. So this is the one I'm making for myself. I thought that this was the same size as this one, and I just realized that this cover is longer because I was going to make mine out of one of these books, but I decided to use this one instead, and I had already started the pages, and the covers are long, but I think it's going to work fine. I just love this cover. So this is going to be mine. I'm going to set that cover aside. I have put all of my pages together. So I have constructed my pages. I thought that's what I need to do first, is make the bases. So I've got my pages, and now I can start decorating and adding ephemera into the pockets and things. But I need to make pages for the journals that are going to go in my shop. So that's what we're going to work on in this video. We're going to do two different journals. One will be this Reader's Digest one. And by the way, in the first video I said that I would reserve 2 and I would put 2 in the shop. 2 have already been reserved. So I won't be reserving any more. The other 2 will go in the shop when they're done. And I believe this is one that was reserved. I'm pretty sure that this one was. Yes, this one was reserved. And either this one or the other one that's similar to this. And then there's another one that's patchwork. I don't have that cover with me right here, but so 2 will be in the shop. But anyway, on today's video, I would like to do some with the landscape format, which is what I'm doing in my journal, of course. And then I want to show how to adapt that page construction for this typical type of book. And it's a tall book, so we will have to do some work. Let me get the covers out of the way. And I have selected pages for each of these techniques I'm going to show. So hopefully I won't need to be searching for too much stuff. So first of all, I have a piece of cardstock. It was just 8.5 by 11. I cut it down to the right height of the book. I think it's 8 1/4. And just folded it. It's not folded right in the middle. I just thought it would be fun to do it off. And I just sewed on a piece of embroidery as a pocket. So when it's folded, the embroidery wraps around, but it's pretty narrow. I don't think I'll be putting anything in there. I could put a really skinny tag in there, but I probably won't. But I can put something for journaling on in there. And then I have this one. It doesn't wrap around, obviously. And I only did 2. I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the 3rd signature yet. Something similar but different, I think. So I already have those done. I did one for each of the 5 journals. I'm selling 4, and then there's the one for me. So this is for the Reader's Digest Complete Book of Needlework, and this is for the taller book. So those parts are already done, but I think you can pretty much see what I did. To make the folders, I have a Cricut cartridge that will cut recipe file cards, but it's not a folder. But I cut one as big as I wanted it to be, and then I just traced around it and cut it out. And then for some of them, I used my envelope punch board to get this. So if you don't know how to do that, I can show you that in a different video if you have an envelope punch board. So, you know, it depends on which way you want to do it. So the first page I'm going to do is, these are pages from the actual book. So I have 2 of those pages, and I hinged them together with a piece of patterned cardstock. So that's pretty simple. You don't have to do anything besides that, and that will make the page long enough. I did trim some off the height of all the pages. I just want them to be a little smaller than the pages that were originally in the book, so that there's just room all around. So I trimmed here and at the top or the bottom. But I do want to do more to this page. I'm not doing any decorating right now. I'm constructing pages. But I turned this page into a pocket. So I sewed my embellishments on here before I sewed it as a pocket. Because of course you can't sew them on after it's a pocket, because you'll sew the pocket closed. So that's what we're going to do first. I did do some pages for that Reader's Digest book, so I just want to make sure I'm not duplicating something I already did. Nope. Okay. So I have 2 pages here that I thought were pretty, and then this page is going to be sewn on top of this one as a pocket. It is just slightly smaller. You could cut a notch in here or make it even smaller, shorter, just for ease of getting things in and out. I have a piece of pattern tissue just to decorate it. No purpose, just embellishment. Actually longer than I need it to be, so I'm gonna cut a little off. I want these notches, I want these notches on it because for a design element. And you can glue these on, but I'm going to sew it because I like the look of it, and I have black thread in my machine. I think I will add these 3 daisies just for fun. So and I'm going to do it with zigzag stitch. Because it's transparent pattern tissue, you can see the page through it. I'm just going to add a little more stitching and go down these loose petals here. I'll just use a straight stitch for that, for variety. And then I will stack it on top of that and just sew down those two edges. This edge will be sewn when I sew it to a strip, the hinge that's going to attach it to that page. So straight stitch here is fine. Back stitch there because I'm going to sew over that, but force of habit. I do need to back stitch this end though. Alright, I have some strips of paper that I cut to the right height, so I'm just going to sew this to one edge of it and that to the other edge, and then when I fold the strip of paper we will have the two sides of our page. Another thing you can do instead of using the hinge is, instead of trimming off the width of the page, you could leave one of them and then fold the page itself over and make it a hinge. Sew this to it and then fold this page to make it a hinge. I did that on one of the pages, but I might not remember to show it to you when I get to it. I'm trying to work rather quickly because I have a variety of pages to show you and I might not be able to do it all in one video. Some of the pages I don't have to do any constructing. They're big pages, so I can show you them too as we get to them. I'm trying to remember to leave my threads, some of the threads long. So the pages are hinged together. This hinge is a little bit long. I could trim that off. I could do another row of stitching so it's not too flappy. But I try to make sure the edges of the page line up pretty good and then fold it. So I think I will just do another row of stitching down there. Going to make the pocket shorter. This is the side that has the pocket on it, but that's okay, you know. It's a very deep pocket. So there we have this page with its pocket. Did I put something in this one? I didn't. Okay. Now in this signature, I have another pair of pages, and this was from the sewing book itself, and I was able to pull it out as a folio. For the Reader's Digest Book of Needlework, those pages were not sewn in, so I could not get any folio pages out, so they have to be connected. But for this, I took a folio from a small Kate Greenaway book and just sewed it on. So I get two little pockets here, and it reinforces this book page where the stitches left holes. So since my next pair of pages, oh, I already did it. So is this cut the right size? This page is from, I think this is from this book, yeah, so it's good. So this is where I took this page and folded this little edge over, and then I glued this page to that folded piece, and that made a folio page. A folio is two pages that are connected that get folded into a book. And I already sewed that one on. I'm going to do all three of these book pages with the other size book too. So I'm just going to finish them for this book first. I forgot, there's two book page sections in each signature. So let's see what, I went back to the first signature. It doesn't really matter which signature is which. But this again was connected with a hinge, and I tried different stitches on it. And on this page, I took the envelope to a vintage pattern and just sewed it on. First I sewed this decorative fabric on it so that I could have a pocket here. And then I sewed this on, and then I glued at the top so that the front could still be open. So that's what we're going to do next. In fact, I already did it. Don't have to do it on this one. But I did not think to sew fabric on the edge, so I might glue something there when I go through and decorate the book. You know, I could just glue something on there. And this is on the first page instead of on the inside, but that doesn't matter. So I glued these together the same way, folded one page, and then glued this page to it, and then sewed here, and here, left this open, and I glued the back part of the pattern envelope down so that you could use that as a pocket. So that one is done. So let's go back to the second signature. And the other book page in here is, it's got a hinged piece in it again. This envelope is just sewn on there as a decoration. There is no pocket or anything there. I just took the front of the pattern envelope and sewed it and added some fabrics. So since it's not part of the construction, I don't need to do that right now. That can be done in the decorating stage. The hinge is a bigger piece of paper, so it overlaps quite a bit. So that's just another way you can do it. And this was done the same way with the piece of pattern tissue, another page sewn on. And I had this little file folder. I made these pages, some of these pages for my book, over a year ago. And this is one of them. This page is one of them. So I just sewed something from the book with a piece of fabric behind it to decorate the folder. And I don't know what else I'll do to it. So I have another envelope here. I've got the book pages, and I've got a strip of paper. Since, like I said, I don't have to do this in this stage of constructing the pages, but I have the envelope right here, so we might as well do it. So once again, I am going to sew this hinge to the page. This one isn't as wide as the one I used in my book. This is a piece of scrapbooking paper I've had for a long time, and it has different elements you can cut out and use, but I thought it would just be fun to use it as a strip of paper. I keep cutting my threads short. Oh, and I need to decide which one I want to sew the pattern to, because I don't want to cover up. I think I had decided on this one. This isn't a real... This page doesn't do anything for me, so I'm going to cover this part with the pattern. And besides, you are probably going to cover up much of what is visible when you add stuff to your journal, however you like to journal. If you want to write in your journal, you'll probably have to glue some paper down so you can write on it. If you like to do mixed media, then your images will be covered. But there are lots of pockets and things like that that you can put things inside, so you can journal on those and not cover up all the images if that's what you prefer. I'm going to take my pattern envelope, remove the guts, and get my paper trimmer. I am just going to cut all around the edges. They're kind of worn, and that will remove the front from the back and get rid of those soft, bent up edges. Okay, that takes care of that. I can use that for something else. And it is the right size that we need, so we're good there. And I will add fabrics to it later. Right now I'm just going to sew this down. See, I have some decorative fabrics here and a little piece of a vintage tablecloth design, but I can add those later when we get to the decorating stage. I could make this a pocket if I wanted to, but this page is just going to be decoration. There's that page. Oh, forgot to do that. So I need to cover another. I guess I'll cover this side. And I will use this gourd. Oh, that's the same one. Use that. It's so pretty. Just going to cut this a little smaller. I had two of the same book. That's why I have duplicate designs. And I will add something to this big pocket when we get to the adding things in the pocket stage. Okay, moving on. I'm using lots of vintage patterns in these books. So again, whoops. Again, this one is 2 pages hinged together and just a pattern envelope sewn on as a pocket. It doesn't, I left the back on it. No, I didn't. It was just the front. I sewed the front of it to another book page to make it a little sturdier because it's pretty vintage. So I didn't make it a pocket up here, just here. So I cut my pages short without thinking about making a hinge out of the page itself. So we're just going to keep adding on the strip. It is easier if you just fold the page over, but the strip adds just a decorative element, and also it's sturdier for sewing through. Of course, depending on the kind of paper you use. I think that my videos on constructing pages is going to have to be more than one video. If you want to see all the various ways. And this is a costume for skaters. Dance trunks, tap dance trunks, blouse, and skating outfit, it says. Whoops. I think I just knocked over my paper cutter because I went to get scissors so I could use these instead of the paper cutter. I think I'll put this one on this page because that doesn't have a very decorative page. I'm going to trim a little more. And I'm not going to do this one on camera because I'm running out of time. But what I will do is I'll just stitch this to a piece of the book page that doesn't have much decoration on it to make it sturdier. This is a pretty old pattern. And then I will sew it here as a pocket. And then that page will be constructed. Let's see, where's the middle of that hinge? These pages are not cut evenly, which is fine. That page is a little bit wider. I'll just tuck this in here so we'll know what we're doing with it. And we should have one more page in here. That's the book page. Okay, I think, is this it? Yep. So again, it's just a hinge, so I don't need to do that on camera. It's just a hinge, and I sewed some fabric, VTech fabric to the top, and this little vintage applique that I got from somewhere on the edge. So I don't need to do that again on video. You've already seen it. So let's take a look at the other size page. So I've got them all right here, along with some fabric strips. We're not going to do them all in this video, but let's go back. The first one is a pocket, and I forgot to cut extra pages to make into the pockets. But this page I could cover. So let me just grab a book page. I like that one with the old doll on it. There really isn't much to adapt for this. It's basically just changing the size of your paper to match the size of the paper that you're sewing to. So I won't do the sewing, so we can move on to something else. But I have my page cut. I will cut it a little narrower because this is still a little too wide. And I will put some sewing tissue on it somewhere. The skating skirt was cut out. It doesn't look like it was pinned on, but it was cut out. I like to have a little more notation on my pattern. There's some right there. Let's use that. I could just sew that on, and probably a piece of fabric or something, and then sew it on as a pocket. And then that page will be done. Try to keep my piles of pages straight. Okay, what's next? Okay, so this one is going to be hinged. I think, well, they're all going to be hinged in some fashion. I've got my little strips here for hinges. And I'm going to add a pattern to it. Did I bring in another pattern? Oh, I have to step out and grab another pattern. Okay, I'm here. I brought a stack of patterns in with me. And I'm going to cover that. Or that. Let's cover that. That one's cute. Now this would have been good in the landscape books as a pocket. Isn't that adorable? Oh, but I can't waste time. So let's just use that one. We'll cut off the price tag. Oh, this got something inside it. Provincial floral prints. I love provincial florals. That's cool. I'll have to use that for something. That was a fun find. This looks like it's from the 70s. I was going to say it looks like Betsy Johnson, and it is. I know these things because my mother had a fabric shop. She sewed all of our clothes. And when I was a teenager, she opened her own fabric shop, which I worked in after I graduated. And I used to just pore over the pattern books. So I remember Betsy Johnson, and I remember the artwork. So that's how I recognize that. This pattern was totally unused. Okay, so we will hinge these pages, and this will be sewn to this side, and I'll leave it open at the... Actually, I shouldn't have cut the back of it off. I might use this for something else, but anyway. I mean, it can still be a pocket without the back being on it, but the back, I don't know, it just makes it feel more secure. So I'll put some fabric here, just like that, and I'll sew it on and then glue the top so that the pattern itself will be a pocket. And it'll be hinged, just like in the other books. So I think you get the idea of how to adapt all of these ideas for the other size of page. Let me make sure there isn't anything we need to go over. We can do the same thing with that. I have this little book that's a folio page, so I can sew that on like I did that. And this was just hinging and then applying the front pocket. So I can use that Betsy Johnson pocket for that, or pattern for that. And again, hinging the page together and sewing on a pattern envelope for a pocket. We'll do that. And this one was pretty basic, so I don't need to do that. So those are very easily adaptable. Let's move on to a different kind of page. This is just, I just considered this miscellaneous paper. So this was a long sketch pad, thin sketch pad paper. And I'm not going to be doing this in all the books because I'm going to decorate my pages before I sew my signatures in. So I just took images, some feed sack fabric that I like, and patched it on here, and then a couple images from my Montgomery Ward catalog, and decorated. I'll do something like this to the pages that I sew into the books. So I'll show you the variety of pages that I have. So this is just a parchment page. It came out of a book of parchment paper, so it's sturdy. It's got a gray tint to it, and it has staples in the center, so I could pull it out as a folio. And this one is for the taller book, obviously. Also, this is a pattern from a painting craft book. Just had these designs that you could probably trace onto something that you wanted to paint. And this is a piece of architectural or engineering vellum. It's got a grid on it. So, not sure. I'll just look at the other pages. This one is just decorated with some fabric, like I said, and the cutouts. Let's see what I have in the other signatures. I probably should have just stacked all my pages. But I didn't do anything to this one. I just put the parchment in there, and I will decorate that later. I didn't make the page bigger. I want some of the pages to be small. And this one is just the engineering paper, so I didn't do anything to that either. So I guess that step doesn't need to be addressed. I feel like I'm getting my pages mixed up. Okay, next we have craft book pages, and I didn't do anything to them either. I just pulled them out of the vintage craft books. Well, this one, because the book is short, I just folded up to the right size so I have little pockets, and I'm not sure. I'll probably sew down the edges of these. And I'll probably do that for the other Reader's Digest book. But the other books, I just trimmed them to fit, and they'll just go in, and I'm not sure how I'll decorate them. Another craft book page that I used. There's the same one from the same book. These came out of a binder. I've got a whole bunch of these. Got them at a flea market, I think. So I'm not doing anything to them, except I had to trim the height of these a little bit to fit into this book. But they'll just go in as a folio, and I'll probably just sew something onto it. So those were simple pages. I just put in an envelope. I'll have to cut down the center of that so you get a flap on each side. This is the coupon shopping list envelope that I found at the flea market. I thought that was fun for a domestic arts journal. Then we have scrapbook paper. You've seen me make bigger sizes of scrapbook pages by just sewing scraps together. Well, this one was a full piece. I cut it down to size and then just added this craft. This came from a binder too, but it wasn't a folio. It's just one sheet. So I just tacked it on the end there and made sure that I had this cut to the right size. And I sewed a piece of acetate here. I punched a heart out of it. You can't even see it, but when you put something in there, I think it'll show up more. Maybe in person. But anyway, I know it's there. I just sewed a piece of acetate there for a pocket. So, let's find a piece of scrapbook paper. I didn't cut this at all because I wasn't sure. I think I cut it to the right height, and that's it. Yeah, I cut it to the right height. And I brought this over to sew to it. So let's just do that first. Even though this is quite a bit smaller than that, it's still going to be part of the page to extend the page out. And I want to do it on this side. I hope this isn't too confusing. I think I could have done this better, but I'm not going to start over. Here's the book it needs to go into. I wrote down there what the page needs to be 7.5 inches wide when it's folded. And this is a little too wide for that. So I think if I fold it right about there, that should be about right. If I was at my other station down at the other end of the table, I have my mat that would have a measurement on it for 15 inches that I could mark. But I just eyeballed it on here. So now I'm going to put this at the 7.5 inch mark and cut. It looks like I will cut a little bit of that off. Tiny bit. So now that is the right size for my book. I don't think I'm going to do the landscape pages because I think they got mixed, those pages got mixed up with something else because I don't know where they are. There's one scrapbook page. I only put one scrapbook paper in each signature. Here's another envelope. Somebody sent me this in Happy Mail. They're really cute, but most of them are sealed shut. So I cut off the end and we'll put something inside each end. They're just so adorable. So here's the other scrapbook paper, and it just has a small piece of scrapbook paper sewn on it, just like we just did with the other paper. And I added a acetate or plastic photo sleeve on it. In fact, I think I was supposed to sew along the edge because I had to cut this and separate it, and I wanted to make sure that the edges aren't going to open up. And I just stuck this vintage advertising card in there just to see how it looked. I don't think I'll leave it in there. I'll put something else in. So that's what I will do for the other scrapbook papers in the other book. I will add acetate plastic photo sleeves to the other pages. And on this scrapbook paper, I just sewed just a piece of white cardstock to it. That's it. Just cut them down to the right size and sewed them together. So that was pretty simple. Is this okay? The way I'm doing it? You know what I think I'll do? We already did that. I'm just going to stack up my paper so I don't have to keep flipping through the book. We're almost to the center of the book. You don't have a lot to do. And it's a good thing because the battery light's flashing. So this, we do have a bit to do with the fabric. This is a pocket. I think I showed these to you in the first video. It's a replacement pocket. I got it in a bunch of vintage sewing things and crafty things. And I thought, I need to make these work somehow. So I had two of these big ones. I'm going to put it in my book just like this. I took out the stitches right here so that it was open here. So this side will be open, but on this side it was all sewn shut. So I took out some of the stitches and then I reinforced so that it wouldn't come out, but I didn't take out enough stitches because it won't hold much of anything in here. So I'm going to take out a few more stitches, including the ones I just put in to reinforce. I'm not sure how I'll decorate the pocket. I'm sure I will glue something to it. I can't sew anything to it without sewing the pocket closed, but you get the idea. That will happen in the decorating the pages stage. Yeah, that's a better pocket. So I will reinforce right here just so it doesn't keep coming apart, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'll show you the other fabric things that I did on the other pages. Now this is a complete lift from one of Gina's books. I loved it. She took a piece of Ada cloth, which is the cross stitch fabric, and I happen to have some in a variety of colors that I got at a flea market, and she just cut it and folded it as a page. And then she added a piece of pinked fabric and just sewed on a scrap of scrapbook paper and a ticket. There's a ticket here. This forms a pocket right there, and then just a little strip of fabric. Where's my Ada cloth? I think I'm going to just have to show you the rest because my battery's flashing. So that, I think that's easy enough. You can see what to do with that, right? It's just a piece of Ada cloth. You cut fabric. If you have pinking shears, cut it out with pinking shears if you want to. So just add a couple little things to decorate. I sewed this on before I sewed the pocket down so it doesn't shrink the size of the pocket. And then just a little strip of whatever you want to add, lace or rickrack or fabric or even a piece of paper. And the other fabric, I did a fabric piece in each journal. So I have these pieces that are from a sample, and they're sheer. I think they were curtain samples or something, and they have this paper all around them with all the information. So I just overlapped them and sewed all the way around them and folded, and the paper keeps them stiff and the paper helps to fold them. And I used these in a previous book where I actually sewed it as a pocket and you could see through it. I don't want to do that this time. I have this really pretty wallpaper border and it's cut out in a shape, and I just want this to look pretty flipped over. So I have some more of that I can use in the other journals also. And then after the fabric pieces, I had wallpaper. So basically all I did was cut the wallpaper to the right size. I haven't done any decorating to the wallpaper, so that's easy. And calendar pages, same thing, cut them to the right size. So the thing to do with these in constructing the pages is to get your papers like this. This is small, so and I don't want this side to show. It's all written on. And so I would probably put this on as a pocket somehow. I would have another piece of paper to sew this to, a bigger piece of paper to sew this to, so this would be a pocket. So that's probably what I'll do with this calendar page anyway. And then I have a big children's book page, which I sewed to another of the book pages, the craft book pages, and then folded in the flaps. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't have the stitches right where I would fold the page, because that would be awkward. So there's another wallpaper piece. So you can leave them bigger, either to fold them up to form pockets, or the sides bigger so you could fold them in to form pockets or flaps. Here's another calendar page that's bigger than the other one I had, and it's just blank white on the back. So I don't know how I'll decorate that. And a children's book page that I sewed on one of these craft pages. First of all, it's got a page from the craft book sewn on to lengthen it, okay? But it overlaps quite a bit. So it's really fun to take all these pages and at least get them cut to the height you need, and then play with them to see how you can make them fit the width. So I folded this, and I sewed this to this, and then I sewed this to that, and I have a pocket right here. So So it's really fun to play around and see how you can get some secret